Hello out there, everybody. Manny here at Area 503. And I hope you all have been well since our last video.
Today I want to talk to you guys about a near-Earth object that's officially designated as Object 99942, or the asteroid commonly known as Apophis. If you've studied Egyptian culture, then you've probably already heard of the name Apep, or the serpent, who was a god of chaos. Or if you're a fan of the show Stargate SG-1, then you definitely have heard of Apophis. Computer, give us the lowdown on Asteroid Apophis.
Originally discovered by astronomers in 2004, Object 99942 was confirmed as a potentially hazardous near-Earth object a year later in 2005. The name Apophis was chosen by the co-discoverers of the asteroid who were fans of the show Stargate SG-1. The asteroid is approximately 1,500 feet or 450 meters in length and 600 feet or 170 meters in width. The composition of the asteroid is predominantly stony silicate materials and a mixture of metallic nickel and iron.
Thank you, computer. So, Apophis is about the size of 3 football fields. It's a huge, solid piece of rock, and it's been banging around our solar system for quite some time, only to be discovered back in 2004. The 2 astronomers that discovered this asteroid were fans of the show Stargate SG-1, and they named it after a recurring villain on the show, Apophis, who was hell-bent on destroying Earth and humanity. Back then, the initial discovery made quite a stir. You see, initial readings suggested a very high probability that Apophis would strike the Earth on its projected approach in 2029. In fact, some of the worst-case scenarios placed the likelihood at a 1 in 4 chance that Apophis would impact the Earth. And so people all over the world were talking about this alleged doomsday meteorite. Apophis was all over the news sites. It was all over the media.
So while we all went about our lives yesterday, we came very close to a catastrophic event here on planet Earth, and we didn't know about it.
And in fact, a band by the name of Typo Negative even made a song about it. They called the song The Prophet of Doom.
April 2009, the final time. The end, my friend, is not near. The hour, in fact, is quite here.
Now, before you get all freaked out and go running down the street screaming that the sky has fallen, you need to know that scientists have modified that number and refined it many times over the last 17 years. But that's only after a 13-year-old German mathematics wizard noticed an error in their measurements and published a paper correcting the oversight. Good job, dude. And again, just last year, astronomers applied calculations to Apophis, compensating for the Yarkovsky effect. The Yarkovsky effect is the small amount of force released when the sun strikes an object and heats up the surface. And so, factoring in all this new data, the current popular belief is that the Earth is going to be safe in 2029, and that the chances of Apophis impacting in 2068 are about 1 in 160,000. So don't go cashing out that IRA or selling the family farm just yet. And so, even though we should be safe from Apophis on its next few passes, I still think we should be alarmed by this near miss. And it is a near miss. In 2029, there is still some debate about whether Apophis will hit us or not. It could get close enough to be seen by the naked eye, a mere 20,000 miles or so. And in the scheme of the cosmos, that's nothing.
Why is the Yarkovsky effect so important for Apophis? Well, this asteroid has numerous impact scenarios for the second half of this century. Back when it was discovered in 2004, it looked like it had a roughly 3% chance of colliding with the Earth in the year 2029. but additional observations quickly ruled that out. But it did show that the asteroid was going to come very close to the Earth. In fact, it will pass within the belt of communication satellites, and it will be as bright to be seen with the naked eye.
And so I think this should be a wake-up call to the world, because asteroids like this don't care about nations, religion, or money. In fact, they don't care about anything at all. They're just a massive piece of rock that will smack into the Earth someday and make a huge friggin' mess. How big of a mess? Let's talk about that for a second. Computer, what is the estimated explosive yield if Apophis were to impact the Earth?
It is estimated that Apophis would release the equivalent of 1,200 megatons of explosive force if it were to impact with the Earth.
Wow, 1,200 megatons? To put that into perspective, Little Boy and Fat Man were only 15 and 21 megatons, and they leveled Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Tunguska explosion of 1908 was estimated to be from 10 to 40 megatons, and that devastated 750 square miles or 2,000 square kilometers of forest and wildland. If Apophis were to strike in the ocean, we could see up to a 6-foot tsunami, which would do significant damage to any coastal or island cities, similar to the 2010 tsunami caused by an earthquake off the coast of Chile. So as you can see, if Apophis were to come down in the ocean, it would be quite devastating. But I think it would be more devastating if Apophis were to come down over land. Even if Apophis came down over a wilderness area, we would see thousands of square miles devastated. The ecological impact would be unprecedented. In addition to devastating wildlife, a land-based impact would also throw dust and debris high into the air, causing its own set of problems. The Tunguska event cast dust into the air that was visible from the other side of the world 3 days later. There was so much dust and debris in the air that it reflected sunlight from the other side of the planet in the middle of the night, giving a light glow to the evenings. That much dust and reflective debris in the atmosphere actually raises the albedo of the planet. When that happens, there will be a temporary lowering of the Earth's temperature because a larger percentage of the sun's light will be reflected away from the planet. And I don't have to explain to you that lower temperatures and less sunlight is extremely bad for agriculture, like corn crops and wheat and things that we eat. Hey, that rhymed. So yeah, Apophis could cause a small sort of dark age. It could throw dust into the atmosphere that would last for days or weeks, and it's highly probable that the entire planet would be affected by it, leaving a kind of smoky haze similar to the wildfires that we had up in Oregon last summer. And let me tell you, those were no fun.
Wow. It's pretty crazy over here. Let's see what I can see. Ooh, that is hot, hot, hot. Oh my God. I can feel it. God, it's so sad. These are brand new houses they just put in the last couple of years.
So I can only imagine what the fallout from Apophis would be like, and that's if it came down over a wilderness region like Tunguska. However, if Apophis were to come straight down over a populated area, it would look like the worst of nuclear weapons was exploded over that city. Well, I don't even want to think about that. It would just be horrible. And so it seems to me that there is a clear and present danger to the Earth, and its name is Apophis. So what can we do about this thing? We do have a few options. First, the Russians have been throwing around the idea for years of launching nukes at Apophis.
Yee-haw!
Boom! And that might work, at least to break the one large asteroid up into a bunch of smaller ones. But the problem with that is that if you don't change the trajectory of Apophis enough to get it safely away from Earth's orbit, then instead of having one large meteorite coming at us, we got a whole ton of smaller ones. I mean, isn't that kind of like asking someone, hey, would you rather be shot with a .45 caliber handgun, or would you rather be shot with double-aught buckshot from a shotgun? My answer to that is, I'd rather not be shot at all. So I really don't think that nuking Apophis is a viable solution. Thankfully, we do have a few other options. The folks over at NASA have talked about building a kinetic impact device. That is exactly what it sounds like. It's a small satellite made out of a dense metal that is hurled at Apophis and strikes into it like a bullet, attempting to send it careening away from the Earth. Now, I like this option far better than nuking Apophis because it actually tries to change the orbit of the object and get it away from the Earth. That's really what we should be trying to do here. Not destroy these things, but just push them away from the Earth and keep Earth out of harm's way. And along that similar train of thinking, NASA has another project in the works. This one will fly a small lander to the surface of Apophis where it would deploy a thruster and then fire it off and move it safely away from the Earth. So that's another option that could work, redirecting this threat instead of destroying it. And I gotta tell you guys that I'm extremely relieved that there's multiple different approaches being considered here, because Apophis isn't the only threat to us here on Earth. There are actually thousands of near-Earth objects that are larger than the size of a car. And they are just floating around our solar system, and at any given time, one of them could smack into us. How do we know all this? Because of a project that I've spoken about before called the NEOCAM. In episodes 8, 28, 42, and 58, I chronicled the NEOCAM project and have continued to follow the project in its current form, the NeoSM, or Near Earth Object Surveillance Mission. This project is responsible for the identification of thousands of these near-Earth objects. So you can understand why, ever since the first day I heard about NEOCAM, I've been a huge fan. Because the first step to averting a global threat like an asteroid is identifying a global threat like an asteroid, right? Makes sense to me. Anyhow, the current status of the NeoSM mission is slightly up in the air. It's been moved to the Planetary Protection Office over at NASA, but there has been some recent shakeups over at the administration that I'll be talking about in my next Science and Tech update. These changes might affect the status of the mission, so stay tuned for that episode if you're interested in the NeoSM project. Until then, go check out those previous videos that I mentioned that I did on the project. Then come back here and tell me what you think in the comments section down below. I've put some links to my research down there as well, so if you want to read up more on these subjects, use those links to go out and read the information for yourselves, then make up your own mind. Just make sure that you come back here afterwards and tell me what you think. I'll catch y'all later.
As always, this has been Manny at Area 503. And I wish you all the best until we meet again. And I am out of here to continue my search for universal truth.